I'm hoping that I'll motivate you to know it is possible to write. Whether you write or you don't, to know it is possible to write. And I'm hoping God will give me words that help us to answer that question. Number two, I'm hoping to motivate you to actually follow, and I'll be sharing my testimony, the process of writing. And also I'll deal with discouragements to writing. So I want to start with the things that my bad one is what I want to start with. Why don't people write? How come if you go to Keswick, maybe 70-80% of the titles are foreign? Who was in Keswick? I've not been in Keswick recently. You are there recently. Am I right?
You're right.
It can even be worse than that. I've gone to Keswick, asked them, of course they don't know who I am. So I asked somebody, do you have Nanga books? And they struggle to get them. Because Nanga books are hidden somewhere. The Wazungu books are the ones on the front. So you need to understand that to get the idea of writing, when you think writers are white, you just wake up every morning until you are skin. Say, not for me. This is for, like when you are young. I did my Form 4 1971, so at least I've been an adult. Because once you finish Form 4, so you can get married. Yeah, so I've been an adult for the last 52 years. Yeah. And you need to understand as you are looking around and you start forming an opinion, because all our textbooks were done by white people. Then you go looking for Christian books, you get white people. So the first thing is you have to go over that thing, or you can't write. I wanted to tell you, when I was in Form, by the time I was finishing Form 4, you are not allowed to be a nurse if you are a man. So among the options you were having, there was no nurse. Jomo Kenyatta said, how can a woman? What could a man be doing in nursing? Nursing is a female term. Now these days there are many nurses who are men. Are we together? So you did not. So when you were Form 1, Form 2, we did not even think about nursing, because that's for women. So writing has the same problem. When you start thinking that writers have a pigment, have a color, you may even come to where you think that writers have a kind of a class in terms of what degree did you do or not do. And so you say, the degree I did is not for writers. Not understanding that whatever you did, somebody wrote the book. So he is not a writer. Even if you did organic chemistry, see, somebody wrote. It's a writer. But you can start getting blocked because of the degree you did and studied. And you start thinking, because of that degree, we are not in the, we are not able to write. Thirdly, we are talking about why people don't write. Is the feeling, by the way, all the things I'm saying are not factual. It's just a feeling. But you don't require fact to stop yourself going somewhere. All you need to feel, they are going to be lions on that side. You haven't got facts. But once you feel they are lions, will you go on that trip? No. So all you need is to have a feeling. Thirdly, on the issue of writing, is when you get the impression that your language is bad. After all, everybody says it's bad. There are people who believe their English is bad because the teacher used to tell them it is bad, and they believe the teacher. So you are interested in writing. You even know you are the right person to write, but God never gave me language, so you don't write. I'm calling all those things myths because, number one, nobody can write for Africans like an African. when you pick my book on finding a life partner, the kind of examples I'm giving are irrelevant to the white people. I'm thinking about a boy in Africa. I'm thinking about a girl like Rebecca, my wife. So, from my writing, you can see clearly I'm speaking your language, isn't it? Yes. So to start thinking, the white people must write, but for their people. We are the only people who can write, because the examples you give are relevant examples that reach the person better. So if we don't write ourselves, people will be reading a book and finish the chapter and don't understand what the Mzungu is saying. So it's a lie to start imagining that because whites write more books that we can do without African writing. It needs to be understood that anybody cannot write as well as a local. Even, for example, a theological book, our examples will not be the examples of the white. We have our struggles, isn't it? And although you read the same Bible, the way you explain it is relevant to the people. So do you agree that is a myth? To start imagining that only white people can write. Number two, to start imagining that you need a certain class, degree or something in order to write. It's another myth. Why? There are people who started with you and they require to read. You even pass an exam and the examiner who doesn't know you still understood you. Am I right? Others would hear passed. See, it means that the examiner understood your essay enough for you to get a C plus if you didn't get an A. But you can't get a C plus if you didn't understand. So it will be very important to understand that that it's a myth to start imagining that you don't have the language, you don't have the degree, don't have the language, therefore you can't write. Just write like that. I still remember a friend of mine who wrote a book in Kikuyu. That must be about 68 or 69. So if you can't write in English, write Kikuyu. If you can't write in Kikuyu, me, I can't write in Swahili. And I'm not to blame. Jomo Kenyatta never emphasized Swahili when he was So it's important to understand everybody can write. And you don't have to write a language. Don't write Greek if you are not going to Greece. Just write it in the language you understand. I'm right, I'm wrong. Write it in the language somebody else understands. Because you're not writing for yourself. So if there are no Kikuyus on earth, don't write in Kikuyu. But there are Kikuyus on earth, isn't it? So you can write in that language, that whatever. And also in English, you need to understand there's an English that only you have. About 15 years ago, maybe somewhere there, a lady came and told me, "You like to help me?" Why? You know, when I read your books, I hear you. That's not the way to write. The lady is telling me, although she has never written. Now, so I said, what should I do? There is a language for writing. So I said, and I'm going to help you to edit. There was a book with a friend of mine, so she saw the manuscript with the editor. The editor showed us, said, yeah, that's not a problem. When he writes, you hear him. So the person decided to help me. So I said, don't bother with this one because I don't want to delay it. Pick I have a book called Friendship, and it's very small. Don't pick a big book, just Friendship. And rewrite it, show me, that way I will know the difference between the correct writing language and mine. 15 years later, I still don't have it. Because you see, it was the person was not the devil, but the devil was using the person for me to stop writing. Because you see, once I no longer know how to write, and this person is taking forever editing, I can't write another book, isn't it? Can you see the devil there? Yeah, so you need to understand. And then, I thought that the reason why even this one will go, because my books have sold, have been selling. People keep giving me feedback with this language. And she was right. I've been told by several people, the reason I enjoy your books is because I hear you. In fact, he said, I even laugh alone. Because I'm thinking we are talking. What he is unhappy about is what attracts people to my books. Am I communicating? So you need to understand, you can write uniquely you. And people will read your books because they are uniquely you. You know, my wife and I, we have been married for 44 years, so there's nobody at home. So we are watching people singing, and he says, my wife says, sure, because you're not winning. That's a singing. Because some people, even the voice, now, that's singing. Have you heard it on TV? Yeah. Now, but you know those people are very popular. Their records are selling. But there's now, I started saying, sure, for sure. There are people, you know, for us, good music was a choir, with soprano, with alto. That was 1960s. The new generation, there is no choir. They don't even understand what is soprano and alto, whatever. You sing and jump and and the deeper it is, the better now. But people, there's a market for it. Am I right? Yes. So it's very important to understand then that you can write uniquely you, and your books will still sell. So don't fail to write because you can't write like Nana. Write like you. And there is a market that will go, that do not like Nana, that will like you. Are we together? So it's a myth to start imagining you can't write because you are. Let me tell you why you cannot write now genuinely. 3 things that are now joined, those were made, real one. Number 1, when you have no message for anybody. Please don't write. I beg you, please. It will be waste of time. Money is secondary. You will be wasting time. There is something God has created you for, and it's not writing. You must have a message for somebody. Somebody's. Now, so once the message is there, like Jeremiah, we call Jeremiah the crying prophet. Yes. Because he had a message. But the more he gave the message, the more he suffered. So he said, your word is like a fire. I want to stop it, but if I can't help but give the word. So you need that thing that is a message for somebody to the extent you can't help but give it. So if generally you have no message, don't write. That's a very, very important thing to understand. Because a lot of people want to be writers. To write what? I'll think about it. No. It should be already in the heart. There's something that is, there's a problem on earth. And you feel God has given you the solution. And you have told a few people, you like more people to get a solution. That's why you are going to write. So if you don't have, that's a genuine good reason not to write. Number 2, if you are going to write for money, please don't write. Because you see, you are going to be complaining for the rest of your life. So to save you complaints, simply don't write. Because although my brother was saying that the truth is, you cannot say they are not readers. Because that's not true. They are readers. It's only they are not as many readers. If you want to make money, write a textbook. Because, and then find a way of getting KIE. What are they called? IC. Yeah. If they ever recommend your book, my friend, you are not a millionaire. You are a billionaire. You know, one class these days is 1.2 million people, isn't it? So at once. So if you write one book, that is a sale of 1.2 million. And then next year, and next year, and next year. Can you see how you become a billionaire? So if you really want to be a writer and what you want is business, Write a textbook. Find out what the syllabus. Go and see the syllabus they are having, and then say, that I can. Then go and show the people and let them recommend. Because the truth of the matter is, it is possible God made you write the book for 100 people. He loves them. And so he wanted you to write the book for 100 people. And when you do so, those people will pass on the message and pass the message. God will transform them, but no more than 100. Now, if you write a book for 100 people, it will not even pay for the cost. Am I right? Yes. But the impact is already taken place. Are you together? The impact has happened. So you don't have a problem because the impact has happened. But if what you're after is not impact, it is money, please try something else. Have other investment ideas. Do not include writing as one of the investment ideas. And I think that will be. So if you have no message, if really what you're after is money, don't write. Thirdly, and that's very, very important. If you have no time, don't write. Because writing requires a lot of time. Before I retired, every one of the books you read took me not less than 3 years. And I'm writing continuously. I'm writing. When you go, people go on leave, they go to make money. Me, I go and sit on my desk. And for the whole month, I report on duty on my book every day, only to discover at the end of the leave, the book is still not complete. I feel so disappointed. So I told myself, okay, I'll continue writing snail speed until the next. Then the next one, I say, now this time I'm finishing. I don't. By the third year is when I finally finish. I keep telling people, I don't think I have a gift for writing. The gift I have is for patience. And the difference between me and other people is simply God gave me patience. Because a lot of people write. Somewhere along there they swear, when will this book ever finish? There are many, many manuscripts in people's place. Some of them burn them when they reach my age. But there are many, many manuscripts. People try to write. But they never became a book. Why did they become a book? Because somebody gave up along the way. Because he thought it was taking too much time. The gift God gave me is the first one. I have a message I want people to hear. Number two, I believe God wants them to hear. So, how do I stop writing the book when there are instructions from above? Okay, the difference? So, it's not that I don't get discouraged, but as you remember, I'm not writing for me, I'm writing for God. So, I continue writing because I can't stop. Like Jeremiah, I know I would rather do something different, but I better continue. So every book, I write and write and write until one day I'm told, I'll talk about the process I follow. I finally it can go to an editor, a proper editor, and then finally becomes a book. So I believe the thing God gave me, that idea that I have a message, and so I'm able to continue writing. Like now, currently I'm writing a book because I'm very concerned about work-life balance. You know, if you have been listening to my morning meditations, I'm talking about God created the sun and the moon. The moon is supposed to announce you rest. The sun is supposed to announce you come out of bed. But because we now discover the light, people work in the night and in the day. They suffer from something called burnout because of disobeying God, isn't it? So I want to talk about the way God created us. There is time for rest. You ignore it to your own peril. But unfortunately, I wrote it the whole year. I thought I can finish. Now I can see we are getting to August. I haven't finished. Because I have many things I do. Writing is only one of them. So when they become too many, it's writing that suffers. But I don't give up. One day, if the Lord gives me time, that book will come out. So the important thing is I have a message, I have a concern. So I'm able to continue with it until the book But maybe I should have started right at the beginning. How did I start writing? Way back, as Form 1, Form 2, I started getting interested. I'm talking about 1960s. I started getting interested in writing. So we began a journalism club with a few boys. In fact, my first time in Kisumu, I went because we wanted to see a radio station. I don't know, we never went to Nairobi, it was too near. So we went to Kisumu. So I joined journalism club with the idea of either voice journalism or written journalism. That's what So from then onwards, I have had an interest in writing. But when I now finished from 6, I left Alliance just about 50 years ago. Because from 4 was 71, so from 6 was 73. When I left Alliance, and we were selecting courses in the university, I discovered there was no degree for journalism. You could only do a diploma. And I thought, I'm likely to do well. Why did I end up with a diploma instead of a degree? And people who left for 4 so got diploma. So why was I necessary for? So that's how I never went to study journalism. So I took a BCom course. But I was already interested in writing, and I wrote for the Christian magazine. If you go to the university magazine of 1974 or 75, you'll find my article. I was the chairman of the University Christian in 1975. In our time, you are not asked which university because I was only one. So I write, and I can see people appreciate it. By the time I was out of campus, I was editing. I was the one in charge of the newsletter for Focus and the one for KSF, because I was involved in student ministry. So I was writing, but not a book. But I never got an opportunity to write. I would actually write. And I don't think whether I would have actually ended up writing a book if it were not for VOK, about the time it was turning into KBC, about 25 years ago or thereabout. I was invited by VOK to give a series of talks on relationship. The instruction from the producer is that I don't talk about girl-boyfriend, and I don't talk about husband-wife, just how people can relate well with one another. So I was told, so I asked for how long? It will be 4 sessions, 1 per week, 4 sessions, so it's a month. So I asked God to give me all the ideas about how to relate well with one another. So I prepared my 4 talks. But when they went, it was the general service, the English service. Now, when it went out, it became so popular that it forced the producer to ask me, to ask that week, can you do more? I said, I wish you told me. I said everything. Then I realized, this is God. How can God give me more time and not give me more message? So I told the pastor, don't worry, I'll do it. But now I was clever. I knew it could go beyond a month. So I now replayed it into topics and how to cover it. I was actually on VOK for almost half a year. Until somebody said, wait a minute, this is not a program for Nganga. It's a program for many, many people. How come one person has been on it for that long? So they actually told me. By the time they stopped, people were asking, can you continue? Obviously, they are not in control of it. So they actually asked for cassettes and started listening to the cassettes, of the programs. And in fact, because of the demand for the cassettes, somebody decided to go VOK, give me, because it was not VOK was not commercial. And somebody in a place called Taska, that was our meeting point as young people, decided to turn it into cassettes. Then somebody called me and said, me, I don't like listening, I like reading. Can you give me the material? I'll type for you until it is a book. I didn't know the person well. I thought, why give somebody work? So that's how I was forced to go back to my notes and the talk and try to make them into a book. Fortunately, my wife is a lecturer in communication. So she sympathized with me and started taking the manuscript to help edit. So my first book, if you look, is my wife is the one who has written the foreword. She's the one who helped me to compile it. Now, and it started selling because those who had listened to the talk were keen to. There's already an already market. In fact, one of my friends tells me, tells me he was then doing his masters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And he says when they had the thing, I didn't even know General Service reaches there. When they had the talk, they started gathering every time. It was Monday night and Friday afternoon. Every night they would gather together as students just to listen to what I was saying. So I knew the talk was pretty popular. So when the book came out, I thought, wow, at least I'm now a writer. At least the book is out and selling. One of my close friends came and said, Nana, surely there is writing and writing. How can you write such trash? I told you the devil anoints people. And he only anoints close friends. Because if an enemy says it, an enemy can never affect you. If he says it's hopeless, what else do you expect? But when your close friend talks like that, the devil knows it will get to the heart. So the person says, look, even you are the one writing a poem. This is a family project. What are you? Now, the guy treated, of course, that's the trouble we are in with. They talk. And I was about to be discouraged when I started realizing, but people are continuing to buy. Surely he is representing some people, but not these other ones. That's what now made me write a second book. Because I now knew there will be people willing to read, and people can never touch my books. I'm not writing for those. I'm writing for the ones willing to read. That's how I started writing. I've written 26 books, but not a single book. Not a single book can you clap for me. Because, like you have heard, friendship is not my idea. I've told you that somebody somewhere thought of it. Not me. Me, I only gave the message. That means God wanted, He knew I could easily be discouraged. So He wanted other people to tell me what they believe I can have a solution for. So I do it. The second thing is I was invited by Bishop Adol, then the senior pastor of Valley Road, and told whether I can do an exposition on the book of 2 Samuel, which is really a character study of King David. So again, it was taking several, it used to be a 7:30 a.m. service, position service, before the main service started. So I was on it for many weeks, and they were taping, and the cassettes were selling. So I now knew, even this, the same thing that happened with the other one, I better now I don't need to be pushed. I can see there are people who want to know, who are interested in the leadership style of King David. That's why the book was called, it's called Leadership, King David Style. Then I can go on book by book. But every book, God used somebody else to tell me there is a need, and they think I can meet it. So every book, I told you about the accusation that people can hear my voice. Was that the truth? I spoke before I wrote. Every book so far, I spoke before I wrote. One of my recent books is on parenting. Parenting Volume 1, Volume 2. It is my discussion in various couples meetings. People wanting me to know, how do you parent teenagers? How do you parent adults? How do you parent? When I now decided, because people ask, is there a book? Because now they know I have no book. I thought, okay, I went and looked for all my thoughts, and now reworked them to become a book. So if you hear my voice, it's because it was a voice before it was a book. And that's how I have written all my life. God uses somebody somewhere to point out a need, and those people believe I can actually be the answer, and then I answer. So every book like there was a time, almost, I don't know why God has His own ways of arranging. Everybody kept inviting me to talk on stewardship. The Anglican Church invited me on stewardship, Pentecostal Church on stewardship. I don't know how they decided I'm an expert on stewardship. But everybody was calling me on stewardship. By the way, it stopped later, after the book came out. No, nobody, at least in the last number of years, nobody has invited me to talk on stewardship as such. But all those, now that there was a demand, and I could see everybody's calling, I put them together, and that's my book, A Leader as a Steward. So, I'm emphasizing for you that between you and the people you are with, there are certain things you seem to be the answer for. And if you are the answer for those people, you can become the answer for more people. You know, the truth is, for the last over 50 years, I've been speaking somewhere or the other. At least from the time I finished Form 4, I've been speaking, preaching. So I've actually been speaking somewhere or the other. But I can tell you the books have opened new speaking arrangements that were not there before the book went. I went to do a consultancy in Nigeria. And you wonder, how did these people ever invite me? How did they? It's when I have given, it was not about preaching, it was training on leadership. Somebody asked me a question, and I wondered how they can ask such a question, like they have read my books. So during tea time, I said, have we met? I said, no, but I've read your book. That is in Lagos. And I thought, come to think of it, if I never wrote the book, how would I have entered Lagos? Am I communicating? Yes. Another time I got a call from somebody in Embu, and he said, you may not remember me, but I was a student in the university 1980s, and used to come to speak to us. I have just seen your book, Leadership in Living Style. Can you come and speak to my elder, to my leadership? Exactly what you have written in the book. Okay, can't finish within one weekend. But he went to focus, asking them, you must know the third member of Nana. So the book is one that caused the invitation. There was a time I was doing, that's what I've been since I retired. I've been doing consultancy in leadership and management. I was training some people in Zambia. And then I got a call. And unfortunately, if you accept a call out there, they charge you a lot of money. So I said, can you SMS? The person SMS that whether I'm available to meet on Monday morning in KICC. I thought, could be a crook. Anyway, I finished my Zambia thing, and on the weekend, I thought, maybe I should just go and find out. So I went to KICC and went to the building. It turned out there were people called SCAD, State Corporation Advisory Council. What did they want? Uhuru had ordered all government board of directors and university councils to go to Mombasa for training on ethics. And that whoever SCAD is, they had decided I can talk to them about leadership ethics. I tried to answer, who could it be? How did they ever get my name? That's how I realized. It's my book, which I call Integrity, the Litmus Test of Good Leadership. It's my largest book, yes. Over 300 pages. And so from September, I just come back, that was August, from September up to December, I was in Mombasa every week. Because it was different, every week it was a different council, different board were going every week. And my topic, I had to cover it the whole thing. All because I wrote a book. Okay, they paid me well, but the books may not give me money. But am I communicating?
Yes.
All because I wrote. Because they have no idea how I is. But they can see a book. And they read, and they think these ideas are good. That's how they, and I can go to one person after the other about the many openings that have come because I wrote a book. So whether they say many or a few, The one person who bought has influenced somebody. Am I communicating? So, and that has helped me quite a bit. So the thing that has helped me is therefore patience. The fact that if God has given me a chance to write something, I'll write it. Actually, I used to tell my children when they were young that the greatest weakness is to start a project and not finish it. It's not biblical. It's unchristian. So the best thing, if you begin a book, read it to the end. So that's why you need to be, I used to be a chief librarian in high school. So instead of starting to read the book, read the cover, the title. Do you like it? You're not sure? Read the back. If you are still interested, read the forward. If you are not interested, don't touch it. But if you read chapter 1, you must do to the last chapter. Because maybe chapter 1 is boring. Chapter 17 is the one with the right review message. How will you know unless you go to chapter 17? So I kept emphasizing to them, be careful not to begin a project unless you intend to finish it. And that philosophy is what has helped me to actually continue towards that. But the other thing that has helped me is the fact that I don't write for money. I wrote because there was a demand, people asking for it. When they came to agree with the publisher what the price is, I was working for share. I believe God paid me share money for me to do ministry. I've done a lot of speaking all over Kenya, especially in the universities. You hear I've flown to Kisumu to speak in Maseno. If you started telling them the views of aircraft, they have never entered one. They'll think, what's this price? So I don't even tell them I came by air. Now, why? Because I believe my salary in Shell is not mine. It's God facilitating me flying to Marcelo. So Marcelo owes me nothing. Because it's already paid in advance by God. And that's what I have done even at retirement. This week I've been doing a consultancy. They will pay me. And I suspect there's a place God wants me to go. He never gives you money for nothing. There's a reason. If God is supplying, then I don't need any money from books. All I need is for the book to cover its own costs. So that doesn't eat into the other one. So the other one can go into preaching. And that means when I started my books, it was 500 shillings per book. The distributor says, surely, that's too little. Like that book of 300. I still was selling it 500 shillings. Say, no, there's something wrong. We have really debated with my distributors about that. Of course, they also have an interest because they get a percentage, and a percentage of something small is actually also small. So you can see clearly why they like. But I say I'm writing for young people. They have no money, and I want them to listen. The trouble is, a bookshop cannot have two prices. So as you produce an ID, you're a student, you have one price. And an ID that shows you are. So there has to be one price. But my real target are young people and they have no salary. So my books became 600 when they added VAT on the book. Otherwise I've kept them at 600 because I really do believe young people will have the longest impact. Are you aware? Have you heard of this statement of this guy who went to preach? When he came back, he was asked, how was the mission? He said it was a wonderful mission. God blessed us. 2.5 people got saved. Yes, 2.5. 2.5 people, yes. Oh, so there were 2 adults and 1 child. You see, you got it wrong. Every time an adult comes to the Lord, he only gives the half of his life to the Lord. The other one has already wasted. But when a child gets saved, they give the full life. So it was 2 children and 1 adult. And that happens to be the truth. That when I write for young people, I have no idea where they are going to end up. At all, isn't it? So, if he reads, I got no money in it. But the ROI, return on investment, is far much better than writing for my age mates. You know, I'm over 70, so my age mates, don't have more than 15, 20 years before they meet the Lord. So, they may not have covered my book yet. But when I write to people in their 20s, even if they don't read now, they'll read it tomorrow. Are you getting the point? Yes. So that's the thing that has helped me, and I keep writing without expecting any return. All I want is the books cover their own costs so that they don't affect my other ministries. And that's why everyone says, how can you sell a book? I have discovered at that price, the book can pay itself. Because all you need is, of course, depends on who you go to for printing. Because the printing costs are so varied. So varied. You need to be able to be somebody who understands procurement to ensure that your costs are low. But on reasonable costs, you sell a book at 600 shillings, because if you sell it at 600 shillings, and your print must not be less than 1,000, because the higher the print run, the cheaper the unit cost. That's simple economics, isn't it? So if you print 100 books, because of something in accounting they call overhead. The unit overhead depend on the number of books. For example, if you are asking a designer to design the book, it will cost you the same whether you produce 100 or 1,000. If you are talking about the proofreader, he will cost you the same money whether you produce 1,000 or 100. All those costs are accurate fixed costs, and you need a high run to reduce them down. So when you start producing books, 500 this time, 200 this time, your unit cost will be very high, and you'll not be able to sell it at a student price. And that's what I discovered. So all books come out more than 1,000. So if you sell 1,000 at 600 shillings, that's how much? 600,000. And you are likely to have gotten those books out at 400,000. So you still have a benefit. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, out of the 600, there's still VAT to pay. So it's important to understand it's possible. But then you don't make money out of it. But the book covers its own cost. If you are doing about 1,000 books. And that's an important thing for you to have at the back of your mind. Now, instead of going through the other topic, I've already taken longer than I was supposed to take. Let me allow questions so that you now direct me to what you would have wanted me to cover. The process of printing a book begins, step number 1, a need in the community. Never write a book, I told you earlier, until you can see a need. And once you see that need, you can see you have material in your mind that could answer that need. That's the first stage in writing a book. So it is the customer first, the reader first, not you. Not what you like reading, what you like writing on. It is what do they want? Read. If you write on what you like reading, you are writing for yourself. You must write for what they like reading. A need they have. Like currently, I wrote a book recently on Christianity and culture. And especially in Mount Kenya area, it's a big issue, isn't it? You know, did you see the standard article that says Kiama has said there will be no Christianity in Mount Kenya by 2035. They have given themselves a deadline of 20, and they have put their mission. And you see they are winning, because today's standard has a place where a priest is being ordained by the priest one side and the other side by the clan elders. And they have changed, they have even sacrificed. So soon enough there will be no Christianity. So that forced me to write a book. And because I'm writing on a need, it has, the first 1,000 came, the second 1,000 came, people are after it. Because they're real need. And every one of us, I'm sure, there's nobody here who has not been touched for it. Because you need all your daughter to be getting married. And the people coming want to bring Moratina. How do you answer them? I'm not asking you to be drunk. It's simply the way to bless a child. You need to know what does the Bible say about that. So if the first thing is, the writing, the first thing is there a need before you write? Second thing is, do you actually have materials on it? So what I normally do is I look at all I never throw away my notes. The other day I saw something I preached in 1977. I just saw my notes for 1977 where I spoke. Oh, now I also saw another one, 76. I don't throw them away. So I now go through my file looking for all the notes on this particular subject. So I keep them there. Then I ask myself, if I am to meet that need, how do I approach it? The way I approach it are called topics. If I answer this is the main question, the sub-questions are the following. Those subject questions are what I'm calling topics. So then I'll start going through my notes. I can see that one, I cover that. This one, I'll cover. Then I'll discover several topics I have never talked on. I have no idea. Those are the ones I'll research new. Find from God, what exactly do I say of these particular chapters? Now, once I have done that, I have draft number 1. But it's rough draft. And it doesn't make sense. So I cannot allow you to read it. It's private and confidential. But at least I now know I have materials for a full book. And that takes me now to go to chapter. To now through the book. Now it's not just compiling. I go through the book. I go to chapter 1. And I now look at it. Is it communicating? Is it actually meeting that subtopic? Is it answering? Again, if I have to look for more materials, I look for more materials. But I reorganize it. The good thing is, these days with a typewriter, it's copy-paste. Oh, this idea should come before this. You just, having written it, you simply move it to a side. This is not for this chapter. It will go to another chapter. You just put it there. Since you already have new outline, the other chapter, you put it there until chapter 1 is done. Then you do like that. Now you have something flowing. It's called draft 2. But again, I can't allow an outsider to read it. I now go to draft number 3, where I read. Hopefully, now reading faster. Because the others you are working on every page, reading up after. Again, I'll still see information here and here. I told a story about Wakahare, and I've repeated that story in chapter 5. Now, surely, you can't see the same story in the same book. So you delete one or the other. You have to decide which one is communicating better. So that is draft number 3 when you are looking at, is there something repeated? Is there something missing? And you have draft number 3. You now write draft number 4, hopefully, that can actually flow. You can read it, you can sit back and read. Now you are ready to go to draft number 5, because draft number 4 now is a book you don't feel too embarrassed also reading. So don't give it to an editor. Look for a friend of yours who knows English, or Kikuyu, you're writing in Kikuyu. Let them read. And they'll tell you, sure, this is meaningless. How can this sentence be like this? You don't mind because they are friends. So you revise it on the basis of the recommendation of your uneducated editors. Because they are not professionals. But they are readers, isn't it? Every reader has a right to tell you this is nonsense. Because there is a way of talking that is, me I understand, but you don't understand. So somebody else needs to. It's very difficult to correct yourself, by the way. If you write something and give it without anybody reading, you write strange things. So read this as a person is very important, who can read and tell you this. Then once he has told you, you now can produce draft number 5, and you are now ready to start looking for a publisher. Are we together? And the publisher will actually pay a professional editor who might also tell you to repeat here, change here, whatever. But now you are happier, you can sometimes you have to disagree with the editor if he wants you to remove. I know the other day I had a debate. By the way, at my age, when I say the other day, it could be 10 years ago. Not just thinking it is yesterday. Anyway, when I was writing my book on friendship, I have a chapter I've talked about men and the importance of the boy child, whatever, in the book. So I talked about the implication of you calling yourself by your mother's name, which is a big thing now, isn't it? That time, Wanjiro, the runner, had just surprised us because you're saying, he won, who, 1-0. No, there must be a mistake. Then he corrected us, he said, that is my name. And he kept winning medals with that confusion. Then it sounds like it just became everywhere. So I wrote to say, the moment you call yourself by your mother's name, you have told the whole world that either your mother was immoral or she quarreled with your father. Surely, what evil has your mother done for you to embarrass her publicly? Because you don't pretend, even you, I'm telling you about. Whenever you hear there's a Wajiru, people will go investigate. For example, for the runner, they discovered the father had been thrown out. You remember? Yeah. It even came out in a book. But you don't require any. If you know how and it is the son embarrassing the mother. So I wrote that and to write the implications of calling yourself by your mother's name. And number 2, it is not necessary. Because for example, Kikuyu has many names. So if you want 3 names, you can have your Muzungu name, you have the name your mother called you, and the name that was alternative to the one you are called. And we have them. Like me, I have 6 names. I only use 4. Now, so it's very important to understand, you have no need to be calling yourself by your mother's name, because you have enough names without embarrassment. So I wrote, when these readers, I'm talking about the original one, that I am, say this must go, this is backward. How can you write that? You'll embarrass people. So I actually told, when it was now going to the professional editor, I said, we are going to remove it. Because by that time it was with the editor. He said, you can't remove it. Nobody else is talking about it. So I now had a problem between my older professional editor and the youth, whether to allow it all or not. And that's, finally I had to think through, and I still allowed it in my book. But can you see the value of that debate? It's important to understand that somebody, because you say something, because you believe there's a message, but maybe it could make the book not ever be read, because you are not approaching it. You don't have proper facts. You are speaking here. So it's important to understand that. Anyway, I said I'm asking for questions, and I keep talking. I better stop. And you ask questions. Is what I'm saying helpful? Yes, because basically the idea is the mistakes I make, don't repeat them. You will still make mistakes, but make original ones. Don't copy mine. That's my value. That's why it is important for this meeting. And we must be grateful to Ephraim for giving a chance for me to tell you my mistakes so that you don't make mine. You make original ones. Anyway, any question? I wouldn't take it longer than yes.
Thank you so much for that insightful discussion. I've written so many notes, I'll be having time to check through them later. You're saying something profound when you say that, like your books, you're called somewhere to speak about a particular need, and then you came back, you put your thoughts together, and some of them you came back and you looked into your materials and you went to ask God, what can this become? I think I'll just be interested to know, and maybe the audience will also be interested to know, how do you build or how do you structure that moment of listening to God based on what you want to write? Because sometimes you can go to the scriptures and then flag out what God is saying, or do you have a moment of prayer and fasting, and then possibly you go somewhere, you listen to what God is saying? Maybe I love to know.
Now, like I say, that may not be true of you.
Yes.
True of me is that every book I've written so far, God talked to other people and showed, can you come to us and talk about this? Like now, maybe this will be a feature book now. So you have called me for a need of helping writers.
Yes.
Now all these notes, I can now later write a book on how to write a book. But I'm not the one who came up with it. A guy called Ephraim asked me to go and talk about how to write a book. So basically, I listen to God, believing that God opens my diary. Like today is the 40th wedding anniversary of a friend of mine. So I really had a problem with my wife saying, how do I go alone? This is a couple thing. We are going to celebrate. And when do I go in my wedding? I was involved in their wedding. But I said yes to you. Now, why did I come? Because I was not coming because you called me. I was coming because I believed God used you to call me. So just because somebody is celebrating, how do I tell God, no, I want to eat a cake? Now, that's how I came. So in the end, I listened, believing that God is using the people around me to say something to me. As I pray to Him about the matter, I get a witness in my spirit that is the right thing to do. Then I ask Him for materials. You know, even notes I have written, I may not find them. It requires God's intervention to actually just see it. You know, I found it. But it's God who helped me to get it. So every book requires the whole process, God's intervention and direction, right up to the sale and distribution. So it's not just a one time I pray. It's a continuous prayer throughout the writing period. Yeah. Anybody else? Can be a comment, doesn't have to be a question. Yes? You might have to have a mic.
I'm so grateful to be here and so to meet you, sir. I'm Nancy, and I've not written any book yet, but I always write based on what I see or what I face. I'm involved in street ministry. I work with an organization, and actually, I can just say this. I got there through you, sir. You might not really know, but I was in Laikipia University, and you came to minister. You came with Mr. Mark.
I came to Chuka many times.
In Laikipia University.
Yes.
You came with Mr. Mark.
Yes. My missionary friend.
Yes, sir. So through him, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working with a missionary organization.
Hallelujah.
We are reaching out to street children.
Wow.
Especially children. And even coming here on Thursdays, we always have, we feed them a free restaurant for street children. They come eat, we have a fellowship with them, and then they go to whatever they do in the day, and also we train them skills. So I was going there because I had to say that because it was through you, sir, that I'm where I am right now. Yeah, so about writing, I see a situation, like sometimes when I interact with them, you see how they feel, how they talk, like what they feel they are, and what they feel the rest of the people are. And with those things, I get to write. Like one person was doing it on Facebook, I realized it was too long. I had to just type it differently. But now my question is, how do you know that? Okay, how do you know that can be a book? Like, I don't know how I can say that question.
I get to say, how do you know that these are help to them, can help people beyond these children?
Yeah.
How, now, obviously, I can see clearly. If I had come with you to Chuka, and you had given that testimony, a lot of young people would have gone into helping. Because that's not Mark's emphasis, and it was not my emphasis. God has given you something. So, you can continue doing it, but you can reach more people worldwide by having a journal. Every day you experience, you write them. After about a year, turn them into a book. For 3 reasons. Number 1, you would like to explain to people who are involved in children's work how the mind of the child is. See, that's what you are studying. So therefore the children will be helped better. Number 2, you like people who are not in children's ministry to get attracted to it, to understand the need, and so come to it. So you are writing for people not involved in children's ministry at all, but they can be attracted to it. In fact, my wife wrote a book on it because she has been involved in children's work. She called the book, Let the Children Come to Their Father. I mean, maybe you would be interested in reading the book. So that way, she was already involved. She thought the book will help others to also get involved. Thirdly, you write the book because future generations might give up on the children's ministry. And as long as the book is somewhere in a library, somebody will read it and say, yeah. They used to do that in 2020. How come we stopped? And that's what the book does. The other day I had a book, I was reading John Calvin, and it's written by the date. Someone preached April 2015, rather 1515. You read it and say, you mean God was speaking like this? Now it's important to understand, for those three reasons, you better write. I hope I've answered your question, my sister. Okay. Somebody else?
Yeah, question right there.
Thank you for speaking to us, Elder Mama. I truly appreciate. And thank you to everyone who has organized this forum. I'm a beneficiary of your many engagements. I was in Marcelo myself.
Wow.
So I left and your impact is still being felt there.
Now you know how I used to come to Marcelo.
Yes. Now I know. So when I go back as an alumni, maybe I will.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. So mine is a question. My book is on career preparation for young graduates and young professionals. Maybe to also Ephraim as well. I'm currently doing a second review because of the kind of content I am addressing needs more research on employment, education, what the government is talking about on employability and just performance, but also I'm speaking from a godly lens because of integrity and professionalism. So is there a step or a guide or a format for someone who has already done a book and is looking into a second review?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Three things. Number one, if you can see the book is meeting a need, but there is a bigger need in the area, instead of revising that one, you can write volume 2. You can write another book with a tutored title, not on the original. If the material you have is actually okay and current, but there is a certain need that is not met by the book, it can become a second book. However, what you are adding may be so little, it can't make a book. So the best thing is to do edition 2, you call it edition 2, and add up the material that is needed. But how do you arrive at that decision? Feedback. Ask people, not you, but others who have read the book, to tell you what is it in it that you felt should have been improved. What is it you see there that is missing that I should have covered? If you talk to 5 people who have actually read the book, and that they are honest with you, you are likely to start saying, I need to revise this book. It's not really meeting the need. That's when you now come to, do I revise it by doing a new edition, or do I revise it by writing another volume? Have I answered your question? Okay.
Just to add to what the question that she's asking,
Yeah.
by having like a volume 2 book or a second edition,
Yeah.
is it advisable to have like a different title if it's quite related or the same or different?
I must say that my book on parenting is the first time I've written volume 1 and 2. Because I have come to a conclusion, any book above 300 pages, people will not read. Because he said, I am certain, this one I can't finish. So it goes to the shelf. So I've come to a conclusion, a book to be read and understood should be around 200 pages. Again, if you write a book of 50 pages, you'll waste money. It's too small to pay for the cover, because the cover remains the same, isn't it? So if you are going to pay for the cover, for the design or not, surely a book less than 100 pages is not a book, it's a booklet. Are we together? because somebody needs to feel they understood. My smallest book is called Discovering Your Life's Purpose. And even that one, where I was speaking last night, because somebody read the book and said, "Hiya, Brother Nganga, I have a group of men who need to hear this." So I now went last night. I told you what I spoke last night. I went to a group of men, they call them Kingdom Men. But when I went, I found their queens. They were called them queens. They are white. They came with their white. So the topic was that they thought even the queens must hear. When you are going, you say, "Thank you for coming." You know, when I read it, I started in the morning, then I can't stop. I read it Mururizo to the end. That's how captivating the book is. But it's small enough for him to finish. It's still more than 100 pages. So if you write less than 100 pages, surely somebody will not even know, did I read? Because they open it, they close it. They have not yet even thought they have read the book. So a book less than 100 pages, in my recommendation, please don't call it a book. Call it a book. But again, a book more than 250 pages is a good book. It gives you opportunity to say what you are saying properly. But then people might never read because they are frightened by the size. So the book I aim at between 200 and 250 is my preferred writing of a book. So now when I now wrote on parenting, it ended up around 400 pages. I didn't want to make it two separate books. The question is, do I call the other one a different title? I tried my best to change, and I realized all of them can't fit. They are not fitting into one title. So I called it volume. Volume 1 and volume 2. That means you can pick any. You can start with volume 2, volume 1. I'm not really determining which one. But I'm agreeing with you. If you have thought about it, because mine came later rather than initially. If you have thought earlier, the best thing is to think through and approach it as two separate books. If you are revising, now you don't have that opportunity. People already have. So if the material you are bringing is big enough, that's what I'm saying. I will not call it volume. I'll call it a new title, more specific to the new book. Isn't that what you're saying? Yeah. We can finish. But if you came with a question, even if my answer will not help you, at least you have known that there is no answer to the question. So, anybody with a comment, a question? Yes, over there.
Thank you. I think mine is as to ask you, how can you encourage us, and especially having written 26 titles and going on, and some of us are doing the first book, and sometimes it's already...
Some here, it is still in the head.
It's already tough, some are already discouraged, and some feeling like this is not the thing for them, and it's difficult. It's like there's no light at the end of, or even the first title didn't leave the
bookshelves.
Yeah. So how have you maintained the vitality throughout, and how can you encourage such a person?
Again, I like thinking in threes. Because the first two are normally easy, the third one is more difficult to come by. So I have to force myself to think harder. Like I told you, the moment you do it as God assigned it, it will give you encouragement to continue. You are not doing it to get a good name, you are not doing it to become famous. You are doing it because you believe God has given you a message that others should hear. It will encourage you to actually complete, because if you fail, you are not failing man, you are failing God. At least in my mind, it encourages me. Number two, if, for example, the book is not selling, it has only sold 10 copies, There are 10 people who have heard God's message. Are we together? So you should not fail to write the next one. It might get 15. Now, so the critical thing is, if you truly have a message, I think even if the books are not selling, you will. However, you might have to go to God to find out. Might you be writing in an area that's not needed? You know, in research methodology, they always start with the literature survey, where you check, has somebody written on that topic? Is there something you are saying additional to what they say? Now you can repeat what people are saying. Sure, why do you want people to read twice the same information? So you need to verify, are you really scratching where it is itching? Has somebody ever tried to scratch you in a place it's not itching? What do you feel? Pain. Until your wife starts, hey, I'm having scratch. Oh, once she reaches the right place, what do you The same scratching, but when you scratch where it is itching, it's enjoyable. Am I right? So you need to find out, might you be scratching where it is not itching? But the moment you have evidence and witness in the spirit that you are doing the reading, then even if the first book did not sell, you are going to do a second book, and that will help you. Thirdly, I'm still trying to encourage you to write, which is very important. Might you be writing on an area, the topic is good, but you are writing in a language you don't understand well enough, like me trying to write in Swahili, or basically that you don't have the content. Not that you don't have a message, but you don't have clarity of the content. My suggestion is, it is possible to write your book and get somebody who knows the language well with the freedom to retain the content, but rewrite it in good English, or good Kikuyu, or good Swahili. Don't insist on writing Kikuyu English in a book to be read by lawyers. So that's why that's why you should never get a book to the market if somebody professional has not gone through it. A professional editor. Number two, don't ever get a book out in the market if a proofreader has not. You know, an editor is not a proofreader. The editor is looking at the content and the flow of the language. The proofreader is looking, is the comma in the right place? Is that word English or some Kikuyu English? Now, you need both of them. That way, when people read the book, they don't struggle with the language. They now just go for the content. And when you do that, your book will go out. There are people writing books, and you have seen them in the market. Some of these senior guys, biography by so and so, but it's not him who wrote. There are people earning money. They are called ghost writers. So if you really are unable to put it, just give somebody, dictate to somebody the material. And by the way, I came with this thing to show you. My typing is so bad that I got this gadget. This gadget allows me to record what I'm saying. Then I pay somebody to put it into print. So that's why I'm telling you about copy paste. You remember I'm talking about the cutting and paste? To write a 300-page book, you need to have some speed in typing. Would you agree with me? Yes. So I use somebody who is not a writer to actually help me to put it into something. Now, once you said now the word document, I will now do with it many things because I'm just correcting. I'm not writing. And then I can write paragraphs. Not a whole book, but I can write new paragraphs. I can add materials. But to write many pages, you need some time. Okay, somebody can challenge me to go and learn how to type. But I haven't learned yet. But if you want to be a writer, it may be good to go to the internet. Now they have courses on typing, speed typing, and you can actually learn how to type. Don't be like me. So can that encourage?
Yes, it is.
Because I was looking at what are the things that make you be discouraged. Those are the ones I'm handling. Okay. I can handle. Oh, there's still somebody else.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm Gombe Junior here. So, Ladanganga, I guess I first met you in Laikipia University.
Oh, you're like then I came with the Mark.
Yes, that time.
Yeah.
And I remember after the service, you actually told us that mimi usinunue kitabu yangu kama unataka kunipromote.
You can still remember.
Yes, that if you are buying a book, don't buy because you want to promote. You buy because you need to buy that book and get something. So it's something that I also use. Nikienda mahali, if I talk to people, at least I challenge them. Kama ununua kitabu promote, achana nayo. So it's something that was good. So now this is where the problem is, and I guess you help me. I have one challenge. I might feel like I want to talk about divorce, based on maybe my life story or something that I've experienced from people. And I start the story, and I'm like that 100 page, and I feel like I've exhausted everything that I want to exhaust. In your writing career or in your writing journey, are there times that you want to start something and the content is like imeisha, and you feel like you have exhausted everything, and if you get such things, how have you coped with that? The next
What I normally do is to go through the book again. As I'm going to remember the drafts, I notice, how can I live out this? So the books keep getting longer and longer. If you have written 100 pages, give it a comma. Stay a month without touching it. After a month, go back to it, and you discover you have new information. One style. Number two, ask somebody to read it and see whether this is what I wanted to answer. Have I actually answered? They will tell you, sorry, how can you say you have answered? Man, this and this is not yet covered. The question will make you think of something new. So the book will become even longer. Thirdly, which is very important, is ask yourself, have I really covered the topic? Or did I narrow my topic too much? And you might have to open up the topic to either. For example, maybe you're writing about the impact of divorce. Why don't you add and start with, is divorce allowable? No, that changes the topic. So the book becomes longer because you have opened up yourself to a wider topic. Does that help?
Yeah, yes it helps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we are done. I want to give you my line, because some people may be wanting to ask questions, but they don't like speaking in public. The two of us can mentor each other privately. Are you interested in my number?
Yes.
Okay. 0743, then 034, then 157. Let me repeat, 0743, 034, 157. By writing to me, it means you'll be happier for us to continue discussing, and you can ask now personal questions. As I grow older, I'm discovering the one thing I should give more attention to, beyond writing, is mentoring people. So I'm giving more and more time to that. Sometimes I see 3, 4, 5 people in one day. Both people in their 50s, in their 20s. I mentor some people who are in their 60s. So I don't mind you adding yourself to the number. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, brother, for inviting me. You allow me to disappear, not in protest, but because I know your meeting is going on beyond this time. God bless you. And I'm sorry for keeping you too long. One final thing.
Yes, sure.
Please avoid hawking your books. It's not a good idea at all. Hawking books is, you have invited me to speak, and I start telling you my books, now people start wondering, did he come to speak to us? Or did he come to market? What will happen if my message disappears? So that's why I decided not to be hawking my books. And that's why I picked Scripture Union as my bookshop. So I can mention here, you will find my books in Scripture Union. I can mention. But if I start You know the way they are doing in funerals? Those songwriters, have you seen the musicians? My brother died not too long ago. I found a lady talking very nicely with me. I thought she must be a relative, I don't know. She asked for a lift. On her way back, by the way, where have we met? Turned out, she just went to the newspaper, saw my brother's funeral, came all the way to Nyandarua, and now wanted a lift back. Sounds evil, don't you agree? So, don't be that. Whether you are hawking has its own weakness, especially if you have a ministry. It will affect your ministry. If you give books in a bookshop, they might not be bought, but it allows you to tell people where they can get them. However, if you did not come to speak, then you can hawk. Are you getting the difference? Yeah, but don't try to mix the two. There will be a problem. But even if you're a hawker, remember you are physically limited. Please still have a bookshop. Are we together?
Yes.
Because you have no control on who goes to the bookshop, but you have control on who you meet. So why do you want your books to only go to your friends? I expected somebody to ask me the question, but I always have a distributor distributing my books, and then I can mention to people that they can pick their books from there. Thank you.
Wow.